We are back here at Colorado National Speedway for the Legend Invasion that took place over Labor Day weekend. The Legend Invasion is a 50-lap feature race with $5,000 to win and the purse continuing to go down from there. It was $150 to start. So with 36 cars lined up today and only 26 making the fast feature, we had a lot of work to do to try and make sure that we earned our spot. Now our practices were pretty lackluster because our car was extremely tight through the center, so unfortunately we could not get the times we really wanted, and we were making adjustments trying to make it a little bit better throughout each of the practices, but unfortunately just couldn't keep the car up for it. So we ended up just kind of rolling through and making some laps during these practices. But unfortunately in the first practice here, we see the green car in front of us and the white car get tangled up together during practice, and that green and purple car ended up getting destroyed during it. It looked like the rear impacted the wall, and unfortunately it caused some damage to the center section, so unfortunately they weren't able to get that car repaired and back out onto the track. But as we speed up through this yellow flag during our first caution, I figured now would be a good time to talk about the format for this race. We saw 36 cars on the sign-up sheet and get ready to try and race for that $5,000 to win cash prize at the end, but unfortunately we saw one car get taken out in that first practice, so there were only 35 cars that tried qualifying. We were given 3 practices total. One 15-minute at the beginning of the day, which was split into 2 7.5-minute sessions, and then 2 10-minute sessions for each the fast legends and the slow legends that were split off between the times that they got during that first practice. Qualifying was heads up. The 35 leftover cars ended up qualifying straight on time, and the top 17 qualifiers were locked into the fast feature and also started that fast dash to set their lineup for the feature. Everyone from 18th through 35th had to line up in that slow dash to try and get those top 7 spots and make the fast feature on a transfer. Now the winner of that slow dash got $300 to win and the ability to race for $5,000, and then the winner of the fast dash also ended up getting $300. Our dashes were changed from 10 laps to 15 laps to give more people enough of a time to really settle in to try and make those transfer spots, but ultimately they only ended up taking 7 cars from that, so 24 cars were now entered into the fast feature. Now as we scroll on down, this is where things start to change a little bit. The slow legends only had 11 cars left over, and they were battling 25 laps for a $500 to win check there, but they ended up taking 2 additional cars as a transfer spot into the fast feature from that race. So the winner and second place car got to transfer in. The winner also got $500, but the 2 cars that transferred now have 40 laps on their tires for the day, while everyone else only has the 15 from their dash and the 2 from qualifying. Unfortunately, they were at a little bit of a disadvantage when they transferred into the fast feature, but they were still able to hang on pretty decently. Now for the rest of us, we had 50 laps to buckle in and try and race for that $5,000 to win at the very end of the night. It was definitely a great race, so I hope you guys enjoy watching the rest of the video. Unfortunately, we did not qualify super well today, qualifying 26th overall out of the 35 cars with a best time of a 19.303. I'm pretty certain this is actually our worst qualifying attempt with this car since we owned it in the last Legend Invasion, and I'm not super pleased about knowing that fact, but unfortunately we were just struggling all day with a tight car through the center and just could not lay the power down for the life of us, so we made a couple of adjustments to loosen the car up for our dash here. We're going to start on the pole, and we're going to fight for this top 7 spot to try and transfer into the fast feature. After holding our own for just over halfway through the race, the caution eventually comes out after a car spins on their own into the infield. This gave us a chance to kind of regroup and figure out what we needed to do to hopefully finish out the race in this position, but luckily we were able to restart in the 3rd spot, so that gave us a pretty good chance of staying where we were, and hopefully it gives us a chance to lock ourselves into the fast feature. couple laps later, the caution comes back out for a piece of debris that's littered out on the backstretch. Unfortunately for whoever's car this was, they did end up losing this spring and left it out on the track. So you can clearly see there's a spring right there just by the wall in the racing groove. So definitely don't want to have anyone run that over and fling that up into the stands or anything like that. But that put us restarting fourth on the outside. We knew that this restart is going to be crucial because there's only a couple laps left, and we really got to work our car to try and get it to the bottom to preserve our position and try and make it into the fast feature. Although during the race we fell back a couple of positions, we were still able to secure a top 7 spot and transfer into the main event. Now our car was handling a bit more loose than we had expected it to with the changes we made, so we went ahead and tightened it up just a tiny bit for the 50-lap main event. But now we have over an hour before our main event starts, so we're just going to relax a little bit in our pits, make that change to tighten up the car just a tiny bit, and then we'll get back in the car, head to staging, and get ready to start our 50-lap main event. And after 14 laps completed, the two lead cars in the front of the pack ended up making contact with each other, causing one of them to spin out. This ultimately gave us a caution to pack everyone back up. The 22 got his position back up in the pole, and the 08 ended up getting sent to the rear, but we're restarting 20th and have a lot of ground to still make up. A couple laps later, the caution's back out for a car that lost its forward drive in the middle of turn 4 and ultimately just stopped in the middle of the track and had everyone else go around them. There was a little bit of contact between multiple cars there, and there was a little bit of cleanup that needed to have happen, but luckily we were able to react pretty quickly, get out of the way, and have a car ready for the rest of the race. Not really a whole lot I need to say about this one. A single car spun in front of the field, causing a caution, so we just lined back up and got restarted. Unfortunately for us, on lap 21 here, our luck ends up running out and we are collected in this wreck. This wreck did collect quite a bit of cars because the wreck started out in the front with the 16 getting loose in front of the field and just making all the cars behind them just scatter around trying to find a safe way out, but ultimately not being able to for a lot of us. Right here you can see I am getting pushed by the 38, which is no fault of them because we were all tightly packed. I spin around, I get hooked on his left front, and unfortunately, the 18 just runs right into the back of the 38. I feel like we did everything we could to try and make the damage as minimal as possible for ourselves. We couldn't really do anything once we started spinning, so we were just kind of along for the ride at that point. And of course, once the 18 got into the back of the 38, it just shoved his front bumper into our Nerf bar and locked us together for a while. So once they got him enough room to push him back and get him out of here, we were able to finally roll forward a little bit, get ourselves started, and get our car headed over to the pits. weren't actually 100% sure if we wanted to go to the pits because the car did feel fine right here as we were rolling through, and we shut the car off to try and listen for anything that was out of the ordinary, but nothing seemed too out of place for us. But just to play it safe, we did end up going back into the pits, got out of the car, looked everything over as best as we could, make sure nothing was bent except for our Nerf bar, which honestly was the only thing that we found wrong. So once we verified that our car was safe enough to continue the rest of the race, we ended up just strapping back into the car and getting back out there because we know we do not have a lot of time to make it to the grid. Now as we're rolling through staging, we can see we caught back up to the 38 here, who's also waiting to rejoin the track. Right here, everyone is getting the 1 to go sign at the line, so everyone's doubling up, getting ready to restart the race, and we just now get released to go meet up with the rest of the field. So we're rushing around the track to try and get in line, and unfortunately we don't catch the back of the pack in time and the race goes green, but we're going to try and strap in and hope for a caution to repack us all up and just try and do what we can with what we have. Going into turn 3 right there, we saw a ton of smoke from a car spinning around in front of the field. The 21X and the 27 both hooked their bumpers together and evidently came down in front of that 01, which caused the 27 to loop around in front of everyone, causing the rest of us to scatter. But luckily, everyone was able to keep it rolling and no caution came out, so we just kept racing and wanted to see how much further we can get in this race. And just like that, our race comes to a finish where we finished 18th overall and only losing one total lap. Unfortunately, on our last restart, the race went green and we were about halfway behind the field, and we did not see another caution throughout the entirety of the rest of the race, so we did have that disadvantage for us. We did make up a handful of spots, which was nice, but most of those spots made up were from other people's mechanical failures. I think we only made one legitimate pass all night on the track in that second half of the race, so unfortunate way to end our night. We did completely finish the race, so that was obviously a good thing for us to do, but we really wanted to strive to be a little bit better tonight, and unfortunately it just didn't go our way. So we do have a new baseline to try and meet for next year's Legend Invasion, so we're going to try and work on our card, and hopefully at that point by next year we'll have a little bit better of a time. And so now with the Invasion weekend over and the car back in the garage, we've got a little bit of time before our last race of the year in October to go over the car and try and fix the things that got damaged during our night. Obviously during our wreck, we got dinged up a little bit with our front bumper, bent the tabs and bent the bumper a little bit. We can say the same for our rear bumper back here, as our frame horn got pushed inward a little bit and caused the bumper tab on this side to kind of tweak a little. This frame rail seems pretty straight, so we're going to try and knock this one back out to get it straight enough. And I'm not quite certain if these tabs are reusable yet. We might just have to cut the one off on that side and re-weld it on, but we're going to try and save what we can for our last race of the year. But the worst bit of the damage, I would say, is probably right here on our Nerf bar. As you can see, maybe you can, maybe you can't, our Nerf bar got bent up pretty good right here. There's a nice little divot right here in the bar itself, and the Nerf bar got tweaked a little bit, but we do have a full replacement Nerf bar and upright bar ready to go. So we are going to get those swapped out before our next race, just to make sure that we have a good clean car ready to go. Obviously we got a bit of rubber on our numbers here and our running board, but I'm not super worried about it because it is what it is. Not really much we could have done in that situation other than probably run over the 27, but in hindsight we wouldn't have been able to know what was going on behind us. So I definitely wish our weekend went a little bit better for the big race, because we wanted to qualify in the fast feature, but for whatever reason we just could not fire off in qualifying, and qualified the worst we had ever done with this car. So we got a little bit of work to do, but for now I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.